Hello and welcome to the show. My name is knitwhim and this is knitwhim Diaries. Today is Monday, September 7th. Hi, how are you? I just wanted to start out once again by saying thank you for everyone who is watching my videos. If you're new and just checking me out, or if you're returning, I really appreciate it. I know I'm not the most consistent knitting blogger out there, and I know I have long spots of silence, and also I know that my production quality is not very high, especially I know the audio is kind of bad. So I really appreciate those of you who are sticking it out. I am hoping to get some new equipment soon, so hopefully the quality, especially the audio, will be going up soon. And I also am probably going to start recording in my husband's office in order to use a better microphone, and also in order to use better video editing software, hopefully sometime in the future. Not this episode. But yeah, I'm hoping to make some changes to make it, a little bit better. Let me know if there's anything specific that you'd like to see more of. I'd be more than happy to, change it up a bit and do some more stuff. In the meantime, let's get right in to finished objects. I finished one thing this past week. I finished a hat. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on so you have something to look at. I haven't blocked it yet, and because it is color work, it's a little tight. It's a little tight around this section, but that's okay. This is the From Norway with Love hat by Anna and Heidi Pickles that I showed on the podcast last time. I'm pretty happy with it overall. Like I said, I haven't blocked it yet, but I really like the colors. And I feel like the hearts turned out okay, and I like how the brim is nice and tight and it goes over my ears, which is a priority for me in hats. I really do not like hats where the brim doesn't cover the ears, because for me the whole point of wearing a hat is to have ear coverage, because my ears are very sensitive. So I used US needle size 6, and the yarn is Plymouth Encore. I know the gray was superwash, and the other two colors were not superwash. They didn't have colorways. They just had numbers. So if you want to know about that stuff, I believe the dial-up numbers are on my project page on Ravelry, which of course my name on Ravelry is knitwhim. My name on Instagram is knitwhim. Easy to find. So we'll move right along. Because I don't really have too much to say about this. Pretty happy with it. It was pretty fast. Works in progress. So last week I showed you I was working on a crochet project, the Not Just Any Hood by Laura Tegg, and I'm doing it out of Madeline and Tosh Chunky in the colorway Ember. So here's my progress so far, and I'm gonna swap hats real quick. So I'm really close to being done with this. So what happened was there's decreases along the back that create sort of this triangle like opening in the back of the hood. I don't know if you can see that, and I wasn't sure I was doing it correctly, and I got all the way up to row 29 and decided that yes, I was doing it wrong. So unfortunately I went back all the way back to row 16, but I'm much happier with the way it is now. It is definitely correct now. I've got this little hood, and all I have left is to do the tie. Ooh. The camera is inverted, so it's confusing. So all I have to do left is to do the ties. So on each side you do like 8 stitches across, and you do a tie, and there'll be knots. And so it'll be a really cute little hood. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I do enjoy switching up between crochet and knitting. Now personally, I do like knitting better, but crochet is fun to do, and it's nice to have that different motion. I was really enjoying the brim. The most of the hat is half double crochet, but the brim does front and back post double crochets, and it makes it really cushy and squishy, and I just really enjoy doing them, and I really like the way it looks. Now overall, I don't enjoy the feeling of this fabric. It's a little stiff for my taste, and Madeline Tosh Chunky is really good yarn, and part of me, I don't want to say this, but part of me does really feel like this project was kind of a waste of the yarn, Madeline Tosh, because it's such nice yarn and it has really good drape, and like that's all destroyed by the crochet stitch. It's very, very stiff. On the other hand, the color is very pretty and I like the final object. I just feel like I would probably have liked something knitted a little bit better with this yarn. But I feel like crochet gets a bad rep because of that. And a lot of people only crochet with acrylic, and I'd really rather use this than use acrylic, just because, you know, I'm not having to touch acrylic while I'm crocheting. So yeah, I don't know, I'm torn about it. I really do like Madeline Tosh yarn, but I don't know about crocheting it. And I did get gauge. This pattern does explain how to do a gauge swatch in crochet, which is really important. I really like that. A lot of crochet patterns do not give gauge advice, and I think that's really a symptom of the fact that crochet for a really long time has mostly just been for toys and for blankets, and gauge hasn't been important for that. But when you're doing a hat or a garment, you really need gauge. It gets a lot more important, and I like that a lot of the patterns now in Ravelry are starting to include a specific gauge and like how to do gauge in crochet, because before I was seeing, especially with the free crochet patterns, they would either not have a gauge or they'd tell you like a gauge, but they wouldn't tell you what stitch they use. It's like, well, if you say gauge is, you know, 24 stitches over 4 inches, what kind of stitches? But this one's really good, so I like that. Moving right along, I did have a bit of a startitis this week, and I cast on 2 new projects, and I also pulled out an old project that's been just hanging out in the whip bag for a while. So first things first, I immediately after finishing the Norway with Love hat, I cast on a pair of mittens to match. So these, it's the classic mittens number 615 by Bernard Omanco. So it's just a basic pair of totally standard mittens, and I haven't gotten very far using the same yarn, and I'm just going to stripe it. So it's going to be gray stripes all the way through, and I'm going to start out, they're going to be 2 by 2 stripes, so 2 rows of gray and then 2 rows of the next color. I'm going to start out with gray and purple, and then transition to gray and teal, and I'm pretty sure I'll have enough for 2 mittens, because check it out, you know, this is all I have left. I have a bunch, the same amount for both colors. Now I am a little worried that I might run out of this gray and not be able to do both mittens out of it. We'll see. If I fail with this, I still do have a whole skein of the non superwash, but I'm really playing yarn chicken because I don't want to have this random ball of gray yarn just hanging out. So this might be a fail. I might have to completely start over, which is why I haven't gotten that far. I should probably weigh it. Honestly, I should weigh the yarn and find out if I have enough. That's what I should really do. I don't know. So I'm working on that. That's going pretty well. Funk. Sorry. Moving right along. So this is the project that I'm really excited about right now because it is hand spun. So a while back I did 2 braids of fiber from 2 of by hand. I'm not 100% sure what the name of this colorway was. I feel like it was Alaska or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't write it down in my notes, but it's blue, it's teals and black, and it's really pretty. And then the second one I know was New Zealand, which is a bunch of like pretty brown colors. They don't really show up that much in the camera, but it's not just a solid color brown. It's nice and variegated, and I like it. And so I always planned on doing this crochet shawl with it. The pattern is called the Fruit Shawl. It's by Vicarno, and I just always thought that that's the pattern I would do with it. I finally went ahead, it's a paid for pattern, I finally went ahead and bought it today and downloaded it, and I found out that even if these were each 400 yard skeins, which I didn't really count the yardage, so I'm not 100% sure how much yardage I have, but even in a perfect case scenario where these were both 400 yards, it wouldn't be enough to do the large size that I wanted. So I went ahead and I've decided I'm going to also use this blue. This is also hand spun, and this is merino that I dyed myself. And I actually, this was part of my mitten spin, my master plan mitten spin. I was supposed to also do a green color and do colorwork mittens with it. There's two reasons why I didn't do that. The first is that this is not really fingering weight. This is light fingering weight. So it was really too thin to do the mitten pattern that I originally had planned on. And also I really ruined this fiber when I dyed it. And it was super compacted and felted. And it wasn't so felted that you couldn't spin it, and the yarn is fine now, but it was a pain to spin. And I don't really feel like spinning the other half of the fiber because I know it was also ruined. So I'm gonna do this as the third color so I have enough yardage. Now I was originally planning on striping it, and I apologize I don't have a picture of what the finished object should look like. I was originally planning on striping back and forth and doing these two striped, but adding a third color, this blue really clashes with the teal really bad. So my new plan is I'm going to do this teal. It's a top-down triangular shawl. I'm going to do this teal until it runs out, and then switch to the brown and do the brown either until it runs out or until I'm ready to do the border, and then just do the blue for the whatever's left. And then I'll have this brown, hopefully enough of a space between the teal and the blue, and it won't be too ugly, I hope. I hope. Fingers crossed. So, and the pattern is really great. It tells you gauge. It says that gauge isn't important, but then it gives you the gauge that she used. So like, gauge isn't really important, but if you want it to be close to what I did, here it is. The written instructions are probably, and here's what I've done so far. The written instructions for this pattern are probably the clearest, easiest to understand crochet written instructions I've ever had. They're amazing. They're wonderful. I can't rave enough about this pattern. If you like crochet, you want to do a crochet shawl, you're new to crochet, all of the above, I recommend this pattern. Even though it's big, it doesn't use a whole lot of complicated crochet stitches. Basically just double crochet, single crochet, and some chains, and that's it. So it's not a whole lot of new things to learn. It's very well written, and it also comes with, the whole thing is charted. Now, crochet charts are kind of scary and a lot harder to read, in my opinion, than knitting charts, and it's something that I've been practicing doing. So what I'm doing right now is I've done the first 8 rows of the pattern, and I'm gonna do a couple more rows, and then I'm gonna try to like follow along with the chart and sort of like practice reading the chart, because the chart would be faster and easier to read. Just like with knitting, I prefer charts to the written, but you know, there's a learning curve. You have to actually know how to read the chart first. So I'm really enjoying this. I started out with the black kind of on purpose, and then this is all the same skein, so it's going to be variegated, and I'm going to get some stripes. And I don't know if you can see, like the color started changing down here, so you have like sort of peaks of color, and it's not a complete stripe. But I'm really loving this a lot. And I didn't really like the fabric of the crochet and the Madeline Tosh hat. That's a worsted weight, and I feel like it was just too thick. This is fingering weight, and normally a fingering weight shawl is very lightweight, but because this is crochet, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot warmer because it's so thick, and it definitely has less drape than if it were a knitted shawl with fingering weight, but it's just enough where it doesn't feel super like Helvar like. So I'm really happy about this. And this is honestly, this is probably what I'll be doing for the rest of my day today. I did get a 4-day weekend this week because of Labor Day, so I got a lot of crafting done, a lot of cleaning done, and a lot of video games done, which doesn't really happen a lot for me very often, so I was really happy with that. But I'll probably be working exclusively on this pattern next week, just because I'll finish the Not Any Hood hat probably, but I'm really enjoying this pattern, and I think it's gonna look really cool the bigger it gets. So I did do one other work in progress, and it's actually a project that I started at the beginning of the year. It's a sweater that I'm knitting for my husband. The pattern is the Robert Redford tennis sweater, and my computer just fell asleep and I totally forgot the name of the designer. I'm just gonna type in the password real quick. But I'm doing it with a Dream in Color Calm, which is a single ply worsted weight yarn, and the color Atomic Blue. I'm using 2 different size needles, a US size 4 for the ribbing and then US size 6 for the rest of the pattern. The designer's name is Kathleen Lawton Trask, and my only complaint, well, my biggest complaint about this pattern right now is that you can't buy it separately as its own pattern. You have to buy it as an ebook, which honestly, for most patterns, it's not really worth it to pay for the whole ebook for one pattern. I probably won't knit anything else from the book. There is a skirt pattern in the book that I might do eventually, but normally I wouldn't say it was worth it. I told my husband that he could pick a sweater, and this was really the closest to what he was looking for in sweater patterns. And actually, like sweater patterns for men, there aren't a whole lot of variety out there. You know, they've got the really, really super cabley ones, and then you have like, I love the sweaters that Brooklyn Tweed designs for men, but most of them are stockinette and they don't have a lot of patterning to them. And my husband really wanted a cable sweater that had cables in it, but not too many cables. And I wasn't quite confident enough to just design my own sweater, and so this pattern was really what we had to go with. So just to remind you where we were in the past, I've already done, this stitch got pulled out. I've already done the front and back of the sweater. So this is the back of the sweater. You can see it's got this very basic, simple, classic cable design. And the only thing left on the back of the sweater is there are collar stitches that are just on a bit of loose yarn to pick up. And the way the pattern is written is you knit the front and the back, and then you knit the sleeves, which are knit flat, and then you block everything, seam it, and the last thing you do is do the collar. So I'm doing it in that order. So I cast on, and I'm in the middle of a row, I cast on for the first sleeve. Now the sleeve doesn't have cables, but it does have this pattern in it. And I'm having a little bit of a problem with it right now. This is as far as I've gotten, because the pattern is knit 6, purl 2, which is fine, but then you're doing increases. So for the first 12 rows, you're increasing on 2 stitches on every right side row. And then after that, you increase every 4th row for 17 times. And the problem I'm having is that the way you do the increase, it's paid for pattern, but I don't think it matters. You knit 1 and then you increase, and then you do the whole sleeve, and then you increase again, and then you knit the last stitch. So when I started, my last 2 stitches were purls. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna purl 1, increase, and then knit 1, because that doesn't make any sense. And it says to increase until you have enough stitches to add another knit 6, purl 2 pattern, and then incorporate the pattern in. And so I'm just like, when do you start purling? So I have, so what I started doing was, even though it was my sleeve ended knit 6 and purl 2, it was just impossible for me to increase and knit 1 there. So I ended up knitting 8 on the end so I could increase. And so I just, even though I had more than 6 stockinette stitches on both ends of the sleeve, I just continued to increase that way and not do purls. And then when I finished doing the 6 increases, I looked back and it's like, well, okay, there's this place where there were enough knit stitches that I can purl and still have knit stitches on the other end. So then what I did was I dropped down these 2 stitches and then used a crochet hook to bring them back up to make them purls on both sides. So now I have purls on both sides and then less than 6 stockinette stitches. So like the beginning of the sleeve is like knit 3, purl 2, and then you go on and you have the purl 2 and then you have some knits. So that as I keep adding stitches, the stockinette portion will separate out. So it's not ideal. Like, I don't know if I did something wrong with the way you're supposed to incorporate the increases into the pattern, but it was very awkward for me. I didn't really like the way the instructions were worded. I'm not sure I'm doing it right. It's just round, and it's going to be seamed. So the increases are on the edges. They're going to be under the sleeve and not very visible. But I don't want it to be one of those things where, you know, you raise your hand and you can just see this weird mess, pardon me, on the underside of the sleeve. So that's what I'm really worried about. And I hope it doesn't turn out that way. I'm going to keep up with it. That's partially why I started the crochet shawl, because I think I figured out how I'm going to do the increases, but I have another 17 increases to do, and it's only every 4th row. So I have a huge portion of the sleeve left to do. It's going to have these awkward increases in it, and it's just stressing me out. It's really stressing me out. So hopefully all that stuff gets, you know, taken care of, and I don't know if I'll have more progress on the sleeve next week or not, but we'll see what happens. I feel like it's one of those things where if I work on anything that's not the shawl, it'll probably be the sleeve, just because that's what I'm thinking about right now. Like, I don't know if it's going to work out. I want to know if it's going to work out. The only way to find out if it's going to work out is to just do it and then just see how the dice fall. So we'll see. I'm really concerned that I might have not been recording this whole episode. So I'm going to stop here, and you know, I'll see you when I see you. So I hope you guys are enjoying your crafting, and I'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye.